So I'm trying to like base in my mind, like, when you came into the field for me or us,
Uh-huh.
like it was the summer. Wake played in Nashville it was August of '97, and
Yeah.
Fault hooked that up, and Hefe played bass for the last Withdrawn show. So that show
Mm.
was Withdrawn, Wake, and Fault. And
Mm.
then our next show was that December, I think. And that was with that's when we met Social Animosity. And it was Social
Yeah.
Animosity. I can't remember, but I want to say like the first Third Degree Burnout show,
I
maybe.
think it was. I think it was
Um,
Social A, Third Degree, Us, and Wake, right? Denial of Grace and
no,
Wake.
that was the
That was
next
not
one. And
that was
that
the
was,
next
and
one.
check this one out. This was
Your mind, your brain, man. You've always had
Well,
a
this was a
oh,
sick show, dude. It was six bands, and it was Third Degree Burnout, Wake, Denial of Grace, Land Speeder, Social Animosity, and Impetuous Doom.
okay.
And
Wow.
Land Speeder covered Injustice for All, the
Oh,
song.
wow. Wow. Fuck.
Yeah, at the show, I mean, I remember it because we didn't watch their set, but we were in that back alley of Lucy's,
Yeah.
IndieNet,
Yeah.
and and it was IndieNet at this point. Because it
Okay.
had switched the sides of the building.
Yeah, they
Where
switched it. Yeah.
our first two shows were Lucy's on the other side.
Mhm.
So that show with Denial of Grace, the stages had switched to the other side of the room.
Okay. Yeah.
Um, and I guess they just did that when it flipped into IndieNet.
So was the stage, which side was the stage on that you're thinking of? Because I think they might have even switched
The
it again.
original was the original. When you walk back, it's in the very back of the room.
Okay.
And then when it turned into IndieNet, it flipped to when you're walking down the hall, it's right there on
Mhm.
your right. It's like
Yeah.
the stage is right there, and then you got to
Okay.
walk to get to the back.
They
Uh,
switched it again before it closed down to the
really?
very back again.
To like
Yeah, because I remember
Lucy's? To the
when
Lucy
they
side, yeah.
to the Lucy side
Oh,
at the end of IndieNet, they switched it back. I remember the last show I saw there was Tragedy, and
oh
I was
yeah.
tripped out
I
because I
guess we
walked
had
in.
stopped playing there by then, and we're hitting another.
Yeah, yeah,
We're
yeah.
probably
They were on the
at
way out, but
what? I mean, were those? What was? Oh, the other spot that I was just talking about the other day. Where's the Springwater?
Springwater.
I guess
Yeah,
we were doing time at Springwater at that
yeah.
point.
Y'all were moving. Yeah, that was y'all's climb up from Lucy's, IndieNet, Springwater, then the Muse, and then the end, and then exit in.
No,
That's the
I think
classic
the
tour up
where
the
was
Nashville
we
ladder.
we did the what's the smaller one? End, exit in?
Yeah, yeah, you did the end before you started doing the Muse. I
Yeah.
know, but
Because
then
we did the end probably more than any place, I think.
for a while, a fella that was booking the Muse was just like overpaying bands to
Oh, I know.
play at
I
the
loved the
Muse.
Muse. That's where we did the Slow Southern Steel show.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
I
yeah.
just loved the
And
way it was set up. It was set up like a all ages after school like hangout
it
spot.
was,
I
yeah,
love it. Like,
yeah. It was a good spot, man. There was there was definitely some questionable ownership from time to time and things like that. But that's all rock clubs, You're gonna deal with that shit. Uh, but yeah, yeah, that show at IndieNet, I remember because we were from Denali Grace was from McMinnville, pretty much. It was about
yeah,
two and a half hours.
that's what I was wanting to get to. What well, I
Yeah.
don't know. Go ahead and we'll get to that.
Yeah,
Y'all were from where again?
McMinnville.
Okay.
And so Hefe had been living with Satchel, or Brian. Brian's the guitar player from uh,
Flames.
Denial of Grace and Apoc Death, and
Mhm.
so he moved to Murfreesboro, which is in
Okay.
between McMinnville and Nashville, and just became buddies with Hefe and all that, and he's just, you know, Hefe's a social being. You know, he would get all these, you know, he just had all these musical connections, and so he was just always working us, this McMinnville band, up into Nashville shows. You know, so we were just getting all this really cool shit, and but yeah, man, those are good nights, man. Just going to play shows, and then a 2.5 hour van ride back to McMinnville. Just, you know, as a 16, 17-year-old, my head just spinning with what the hell I just saw. You know, going back to a small town, you know, and feeling like you know, a rocker going back there, just with all the shows you've seen and bands from all the different spots in the world. You know, it was really awesome.
So, uh, how old were you again? So and what's the year difference between you and your older brother? Like, so what I'm saying is, when did he start getting you, into
So
that?
he's 7-ish years older than me, 7 or 8
Okay.
years older. And I guess whenever I was like 10, 11, we always liked music, and we used to both stay up and watch like Yo MTV Raps and shit, you know, and take a boom box and put it up next to the TV and record tracks and stuff. So we were always into music. So I was kind of just following along with whatever he liked. And so he went from Yo MTV Raps to then like Headbangers Ball, and just, you know, he started going to shows and coming back and telling me about it. And then when I got about 12-ish, um, he started uh, playing music. You know, he got a drum kit and started playing downstairs. And my mom was a musician too, so she would have like band rehearsals over there too. So I just heard it all the time. Um, but yeah, he just started playing, and
So
my
if
dad,
you're 12, he was like 8. How old was he
he
when he
was
got
like
that drum
18,
set?
19.
He
He's
was
probably
about
18 or
19
19.
when he got his drum set
Uh-huh.
and started playing.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, I mean,
And he would have,
usually you're a 19-year-old is a little more crafted than a 13-year-old. So I bet when he got his drum set, he probably knew what he wanted to do, as opposed to a 13-year-old that might get a drum set and dick around on it for 4 years.
right. And he's always been somebody who gets into something and like really, really gets into it and just kind of goes for it, you know. And that goes for him specifically. It's anything from, you know, right now he's really into, you know, mixed martial arts and stuff. So he's been teaching kids that and stuff for a while. And he gets into working on setting up speaker gear for people in their cars and stuff like that. You know, he just would attack something and just get fucking good at it. And so that's
Okay.
what he was doing with drums. And he couldn't get somebody over there all the time to play. And I had picked up one of his friend's guitars at some point and just set it down on my lap, like you know, just like a lap steel
Yeah.
with it on its back, and its guitar was, you know, the fretboard is facing me, and I would started playing with my thumb. So I remember playing that main riff and to live is to die. It's just like dun 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 dun
Yeah.
dun, you know, and off of Justice for All. It's just real basic shit, and I remember him being like, "Keep doing that, man." And so I just did that over and over again, and he was just playing the drums to it. And then it got to the point where I'd get home from school, and he would be like waiting on me to like play so he could
Jesus.
get better at drums. And I just kept, you know, I was doing it with my thumb forever, and everyone thought that was just, you know, thought that was awesome. His friends were over like, "Oh, look how he plays guitar. That's so cool." And at some point, somebody's like, "Dude, you can't keep doing it that way. You got to pick the guitar up like this. You know, you got to
Right.
play it because you're going to be stuck with playing no one thumb Judkins. You know." so, so, but Yeah, it's funny, man, because he would record himself drumming so he could watch himself later. And there's videos of me because he's such a, uh, he just gets like very locked into something, and he just expected me every day to come home from school and play guitar so he could learn drums and I could get better at guitar at the same time. But there are days when I'd get home and I'd be like, I want to go outside and play basketball, and he's like, no, you're going to play drums with me. You're going to play guitar with me right now. And I'm like, dude, come on. It's a nice day outside. Let me go play basketball. And he's like, no. And there's videos of, me like, we're just like, no, come here. It's good for you.
Uh,
So all that stuff, it worked out, it kind of set me up well, because then I have that mentality of like, go, go, go. I still have that sort of like, work on it, get it done, get it right sort of brain because of those moments. It's kind of like, someone was a basketball coach or football
right.
coach, just, you know, keep working at it. So it kind of put me in that mindset. I'm very grateful for that. But that's when it all started for me, just getting my ear on it. And my mom would always sing when she'd take me to school. Sometimes she would always sing like harmonies and stuff to country songs. So I grew up with a lot of that, listening to melody and hearing her find the harmonies that fit right with whoever she's listening to at that moment. So it's always kind of been around me.
What when you changed over like from one thumb Judkins, how old were you to a guitar? Did you ever go to guitar lessons and that kind of stuff?
I went to I went to a couple of lessons, um, and I just wasn't into it. Like, it was this older guy. He was like 75. He called tablature. He called it tablature, and and uh, and like, he was showing me jingle bells and stuff like that. And I get that. Like, I taught lessons for a while, and when a kid doesn't know what they like, you teach them shit like that. When they don't know what they like, you go, well, let's here's something that you definitely know. So, and it's kind of simple. But like, I already knew at that time what I wanted to do, and and so his guy wasn't giving it to me, and so I went to a couple of lessons and just kind of pieced out on that,
That
and
sucks.
yeah. But I mean, it's McMinnville though, there's not
Yeah,
and the only other people like that were possibly offering lessons were like questionable people in general. Like,
right.
you know, we can go over to, Bobby's trailer over there, and but there's a chance he could be sleeping off a hangover, and
Right. Well,
as a 13-year-old, I don't want to do that.
our dude here, Jim Turner at Jacksonville Guitar, I remember at one time I literally learned every song off of Shout at the Devil.
Oh wow.
I mean, my lessons were every Saturday at 10:30 a.m. It was a 30-minute lesson. And I would just bring in a song and he would just learn the bar chords, write the tab down, and be like, boom. After a few years, he was like, man,
Yeah.
can I ever start really teaching you some stuff? And I'd be like, no, Warren has a new album coming out. I need every song off that record.
You better get ready, buddy. Yeah, and
So
that's
this
how I prefer to teach, man. When I do teach, oh God, I love it when a kid is interested, because it leads you in the right direction. It's going to keep them excited about it, and
right.
I can teach the theory and stuff like that. But yeah, it's and I enjoy doing that. But it's not that doesn't I don't see the fire in their eyes, you know, teaching
Right.
them the circle of fifths, and that's to each his own. But
Well, no, I
yeah.
played in a band with Gravy where he was the opposite. He was
Hmm.
at the time, he was a year younger than me, but he was taking classical guitar at UALR, like in the ninth and
Wow.
10th grade.
Wow.
I mean, so,
Yeah.
and Gravy would say the same stuff. He was like, man, you should learn, let Jim show you, like, I know all we're doing is playing covers right now, but you should let him teach you that stuff. And my attention span was just so, I was like, I don't even want to play guitar. I just want to be a lead singer, you know.
Yeah. Fuck yeah.
But
Yeah, man.
so I guess let's get to your first band with your brother. Were you playing covers before you wrote songs?
we did do some covers, but we we really, I mean, from the get go, we were writing originals, and the covers that we were doing was uh, we would do some Metallica, and we would do Megadeth, and I think as soft as we got was probably like I think we did like Stone Temple Pilots Plush or something like that,
But you're
and
you're self-taught, or you learned off the other band members in the band?
um, so we would end up like I learned like most of the guitar stuff I would learn is because there were friends that were older than me that were kind of closer to my brother's age who had done the work learning Inner Sandman, and they would show me that stuff, and I would just sit down and be like, okay, and that was probably what that album came out in 91 ish, and was just pushed hard for years. So you just, there just kept being singles off of the Black album that as a 12, 13-year-old, you're just like, fuck yeah. So they would get tab books or use their ears and then show me, and we would just work on it in that direction. And I got to the point where I could read tab enough, or I could use my ears good enough to put it all together. But we would play, we were a death metal band, but we would do, covers, and our singer at the time couldn't sing, so one of us would sing. Not me. I hadn't even hit puberty yet, man. I was just a little kid. But somebody else in the band that had a decent voice would do the vocals on the songs that were cover songs. But we would play. There weren't any bands that weren't straight up like 40-year-old dudes playing covers. We were playing like these redneck keg parties, and we would do like 2 or 3 death metal songs, and then we would do Seek and Destroy, and then we would do another original, and then do Stone Temple Pilots Plush or Nirvana Drain You or something like that. And that was a way to kind of keep some of the folks that were at the party interested, because we're just small town, and literally playing on the back of a trailer
And what
with
band is this?
we were the first show we ever actually did, I think we were called Malice.
Malice. And how
Yeah.
old were you compared to the other members?
So at that time, I think I was 13, um, and which is crazy to think because I didn't start it until around 12. So after a year, I was playing these shows. So I was 13, and everybody else in the band was either 18 at the lowest, and then the oldest guy I think was 22
Wow.
or 23,
Was it two
24.
guitar
He's 11
players?
years older than me. Yeah, I was. Yeah, 2 guitar players.
Okay. So you and another guitar player.
Yeah, yeah, and we had a bassist and a drummer and a singer.
Was
So
the
we
other
went to.
guitar player a lead guitar player, or you?
He was a much better riffer lead guy than me. Yeah, at
Okay.
that time, and I would do some leads, but they were mostly just like single string leads, just kind of really simple melodic, like Twinkle Twinkle Little Star, but in a minor key,
Well,
sort of
I mean,
stuff.
but if you're going for Seek and Destroy or something, he was the one covering the lead parts and stuff.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I was no Hammond, and we honestly we would try to do our best to choose the songs without leads because neither of us were
No, totally.
Malmsteening it up over there. you know.
So when is Denial of Grace? If you're 13 here, how old were you in Denial of Grace?
So Malice turned into Apoc Death,
Right.
which had a pretty good run from like 93 to 96, um, and which was pretty much all the same members except for a new singer. Um, and so we went from that to 96, and then singer quit, and that's when Hefe joined. Yeah, 96ish. I was 16 at
So
that
Hefe
time.
was in APOC Death.
No, Hefe joined in Denial of Grace.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, yeah. The singer quit at Apoc Death, and we broke up, and then we then started up.
Got you.
Hefe joined and named the band, and
Got you. Okay.
yeah.
Okay. So was your brother in APOC Death?
Yeah, my brother was throughout. the band in Malice was me and my brother and uh, my one of my longtime best friends, Don, was on bass, and then singer and guitar player were different people. We kind of interchanged guitarist. We had two or three at a time, and then singer was another fella. But then Apoc Death solidified, um, brought in uh, Brian Myers from
Right.
Satchel,
Yes.
and
Okay.
then my good buddy Shane Martin. And then that was the same crew. And then the only difference between Apoc Death and Denial of Grace is Shane Martin, the vocalist, quit, and then Hefe came in. So we had that same core. So my brother and me and Don were always together from the beginning. And then Brian was in the band starting Apoc Death
Okay.
on.
So yeah, how old were you again? I just like maybe 15 by the time of Denial of Grace.
I was 15, probably just turned 16 when that happened. It was probably in the summertime. I'm thinking that happened, so I'd already turned 16.
Okay. Your brother's like 22, 23,
Yeah,
something like.
yeah,
I'm
yeah,
trying to
something like
now.
that.
I'm trying to
23,
picture it.
24.
That show, like that era when we played with you guys, it was
Yeah,
98 by that point. The
yeah.
show at IndieNet, um,
Mhm. Mhm.
and uh, and then within those few months, y'all played the North Little Rock show at Old Man Kurt's.
Yeah, yeah. Dude, I just want to say that at that show, that the Nashville show with you guys, I remember y'all playing and me sitting in the crowd or standing in the crowd just mesmerized about what the fuck is going on, man. This I've never seen anything like this before in my life. I think you guys were playing Or Die off of Zeno, and I was just like, because I kept remembering, it's like this guy on the stage is telling me like we need to communicate, man, with the trees and the bugs and shit, man. Because when the bomb drops, they're gonna be the only ones to to have all the knowledge of the universe. And I was just like, what? And my brother coming up being like, I was supposed to leave because we always kind of left kind of early because we had such a long drive back. We still had to unload gear, and I was still like
Right.
17 years old. so so I remember sitting there, and we'd already loaded up, and him coming in and being like, dude, like we're all waiting for you in the van. And I'm just like watching y'all just getting fucking obliterated, stone cold sober, man. I was just like, what the fuck's going on? So I always was just like,
Yes.
wow, that's some awesome shit, man, and so when you guys reached out again to do a show in North Little Rock, I was pretty stoked. But then you guys ended up not being able to play
Uh-huh.
it. But
But y'all played with Six Shine, and I
yeah, that was awesome.
remember, and it was packed. It was a good show.
Yeah, dude, they were fucking awesome, man. That's just I mean, it really is a sound. That area, man. Y'all have got a sound. It's obvious. It's obvious to
Well, that
me. I was
time
real.
period was so man. I hate to just sound dated or whatever, but um, just shit going on back then. Uh, so weird and different. Like,
Man, well, dude, I mean, just to kind of speak a little further about that time, about that show that we played, we went down there. I remember us going down there early to hang out at the Wake House, and it wasn't in the best part of town. I remember, and but we had all just watched Banging in Little Rock, you know, and so we were all. I mean, we were from Mike Minville, Tennessee. We were just like, oh shit, man, is this a street from Banging in Little Rock? Like we're just like worried, just super ass, dude, uptight dudes, just like, like, oh
yeah,
man, are we gonna walk out and our gear's gonna be gone? What's going on? And so yeah, we were just like, this is our first time playing in another state as a band, like the
right.
first time that we've traveled to another state to play. So it was all a big, thing for us. And so that I remember that like crystal clear, just being there and welcome us in, and like you had the fucking Shocker soundtrack just jamming loud, man. You were love it. I know you still love the Shocker soundtrack today, man, but you were just like, dude, check this fucking shit out. And we were all like, all right, all right. And then going to that show and you being like, man, this show's gonna be packed. You were like, man, I'm sorry, we're not gonna be able to play. Something happened, but Six Shine is awesome. It's gonna be packed out. and we were like, oh, okay. You know, we were bummed because we were like, well, we wanted to play with Wake, but sure, you know, we're still happy and getting there and it being like fucking packed and Six Shine being so awesome and the crowd being awesome, everybody just being into it, man. It was like, man, it was such good vibes. But yeah, it's because good vibes are based on a lot of odd shit going on in the world at the same time, you know.
Yeah, man. I'm trying to patch this because even back then, I guess our main connector was Hefe, you know. So
Yeah, Hefe was the guy, man.
um and then I can't remember the year. You might be able to help me, but you came up to me in Gravy and you were playing in low pan
Hmm.
and you handed us a demo with a joint in it.
Yeah.
And Gravy was like, "Look, dude, we got a joint. It's the first day of the tour, man." Like,
Yeah.
and so who where it was that your next band after Denial of Grace?
Uh, yes, it was. Yeah,
And is Low
yeah.
Pan had the drummer from Third Degree Burnout?
Yeah, so Denali Grace, like Hefe ended up like my brother dropped out of playing music for a little bit. He was like racing cars for a while, racing like large go-karts or whatever, like not small go-karts, but not the size of a car, but like
Right.
legitimate shit. So he was doing that and it was causing him to have some residual carpal tunnel from like the steering wheel vibrating so much. So he was having a hard time holding drumsticks. So he put it down for a minute, and in that gap, um, he ended up Hefe ended up moving away. So when he got back into drums, we started trying to piece together another vocalist, and man, we had some good friends that filled in that did a really good job, but it just wasn't working out, you know. And and so Brian was living with Gary, who used to be in Third Degree Burnout, and he brought in Hongzermeyer, who's the drummer for Third Degree Burnout, and we just started, doing low pan, and it was, um, that's some of the funnest music I've ever been a part of, right there. And it's funny because I don't even really smoke, but I knew that, like, I don't know, I just
Yeah,
was
I
like,
know you don't. I mean,
yeah,
but
but I remember getting like weed from a friend and be like, man, I want to give this to them and give them a CD. But the funny thing is like, dude, your memory is so good that you remembered exactly who I was, and oh yeah, and just it was just like catching back up again. I walked up to I don't know who you guys are playing with.
I don't know. I
Um,
think I can't even remember. It might have. It was. It was definitely the end, the small end. I think.
I think it was the Muse.
You tell me what year is Low Pan? We'll get to it with that.
Low Pan was like 2001 to 2007, 8.
All those years, really?
Well, yeah, off and on all those years. Yeah, we never really did anything outside of just Tennessee, really. So we didn't have a big run of anything. It was mostly just local jams and opening for touring bands and stuff. But yeah, we were off and on that whole time. And I think
Okay,
it
I
was
think
like
it might have been the early Muse because we started hitting the Muse. Uh,
the Muse changed its position too a lot. The Muse did move its stage around a lot too. So it
but
might have been something different.
what I'm saying is like that Alabama Thunder Pussy tour was '04. Our next tour that was with Weed Eater in '05. Those were all at the end place.
Yeah. And then you did High on Fire at
But that was
the
at the
Exit In.
bigger one,
Yeah, that's Exit In.
Exit In.
Yeah.
But even that whole run before High on Fire, once we got signed to Relapse, we moved over to the Muse, I think,
Okay.
which
Well,
was like
okay. So
'06 to.
what got me on you guys was I saw, because I had kind of dropped off of what y'all were doing, and then I read a review in Decibel for I think If You Walk or
That's
Hell. I don't.
that's '04, '05. I mean,
I don't recall which one, but I was like, oh shit, that's that band. Yeah, that's my friends from Little Rock. We played shows with them. It's like the review was just fucking amazing, and I immediately ordered the CD, and was just like, yeah, this rules. It's like, I bet these guys smoke weed, you know. And so that's why I got some weed and rode probably the worst. I can't roll joints either, and probably rode the worst thing I've ever had in my life, and
No, I hate to
handed it to you
say,
guys.
but me and Gravy were surprised it was really good weed.
Okay.
We were like,
Well,
"Wow, man," you know, like
yeah. I think I was like, dude, you remember Denial of Grace? Yeah, here's my new band, and here's something to smoke while listening. You know, here's something to smoke while listening to it. Here you go. You know.
well, I mean, we specifically saved it, and then like 2 weeks into the tour or something, we were like, "Oh man," because we were all out, and we were like, and that's when the light went off.
Right, right.
Um, okay, well, yeah, I guess from me, from Denial of Grace to Low Pan, your musical taste changed quite a bit, maybe, or you know,
Yeah. Well, just
at least
uh,
creatively.
yeah. Well, that's where getting in touch because getting in touch and hanging out with Gary and Hongsemeyer from Third Degree Burnout, because they had that. You know, I came from like that death metal background. You know,
Right.
like Morbid Angel and Cannibal Corpse, Obituary, straight up, just that stuff, Slayer. And then with Gary was the first time I ever sat down and listened to Sleep, you know. And that's when I realized like I was not good at weed because he had, like, you know, I guess the first time I ever saw what would be considered nugs or something at the time, and I would sit down and listen to fucking, you know, Jerusalem, you know, with him on the couch, and just be like, whoa. And immediately I was like, I'm tuning my guitar down, and, you know,
Right.
drop D, drop C. And then it's like, it changed how I wrote, just like dropping that down and doing those different chords, doing chords a different way with that different tuning. And it just kind of blew my mind a little bit. And so, yeah, that's what changed it into more of that kind of bluesy bounce sludge, you know, that happens with Low Pan, you know. And also we stopped taking ourselves so seriously with the death metal stuff. You know, it's like just fucking, you know, murder, you know, go, and
Right.
anti-religion, you know, just like, you know, this aggressive
Anti
stuff,
everything, you know.
anti everything. Yeah. um, but so I took some of the best groove parts that you can get in death metal, and kind of Hongzemeyer's drumming, which is very kind of uh, bouncy, you know, and then Gary's bass playing, which is very geezer butlery, added all that in, you know. And Brian Satchel, you know, from Denial of Grace, came over to Low Pan too. So it was
Okay.
pretty much me and him from Denial of Grace days, and then Gary and Hong, and we tried out different singers and stuff too, but it just didn't work out. So we ended up all just kind of three going at it, three
Okay.
different types of vocals and three different, you know, sounds with every song, you know. So yeah, the musical, it did change a lot, but I really, the roots of it was Gary and Hong that made that change, and then me listening to Sleep and you know, Melvin's more, and
That's what I was
then
about
just
to
kind of
say. How old were you then in Low Pan
Low Pan. I
at the
was
very beginning?
21.
So this might be the first time since you're playing really heavy, you know, like death metal with your brother. This might be the first time you've opened yourself up to rock, you know,
Yeah,
or like I
yeah,
don't know, you know, like sometimes you're like, oh, Boston, that's cheesy as hell, or or,
yeah, yeah, yeah,
but then you finally come full circle, and you're just like, God, Boston, it's brilliant, you
yeah,
know.
yeah. I mean, it was like, uh, Hong and Hong was very much into goofy 80s stuff, and he really liked some of the 80s production and things like that. And once you get into that, once you get into that groove where, like, you've had a few whiskeys and you're after band practice, and someone is like even more whiskeyed up than you, and they're telling you to stop and listen to this part, you know what I mean? And you're and it's like, that's when you start getting into um because with death metal and stuff, it's more emotional. Like you hear it's aggressive, you know it's aggressive, you feel it's aggressive, and it immediately uh, it has an effect on you. You're like, yeah, you know, adrenaline's going. But with some of this production stuff, you really have to stop and pause and listen. And so that's what was happening, is you're starting to listen to more like nuanced things. You've got a buddy who's got a different ear, and he's pulling you in to listen to this, like, listen to what the drummer does here. Listen to this fucking flute. Listen to this flute come in, man, and harmonize with the vocals. It's amazing. And so you go from thinking all that shit's cheesy to being like, that's brilliant, you know? And also, like I said, just kind of experimenting with being a college kid, experimenting with weed and drugs and stuff a little bit, and having a different perspective, than just a straight line. 1 + 1 = 2. It's like, what if you throw a little asterisk on that formula, and then all of a sudden you're changing shit up. And so that's how it all started morphing into a more like a more of a mental music, became more mental and emotion and therapeutic than just kind of like an aggressive riff writing session. Like Melvin's just made you go, listen to the timing on this thing. Like, wow, what if we just do this 13 times on purpose and stop, and then we do it 7 times, and then we cut that in half and do it 3 times, and then we do it, then we double that up. It's like you just start doing this thing, and everybody in the room is all on board with it. Yeah, it's fun shit, man. Really fun, good times to me.